So what happens when a crypto network gets millions and millions of users, but its price just doesn't move? Well, that's the puzzle we're looking at with Pi Network. And honestly, it's one of the most interesting situations in crypto today. I mean, you've got this massive user base, the mainnet is live, and yet the price is bumping along at historic lows. What in the world is going on?
Right? It's the big question. It's what everyone is trying to figure out. With a community this huge, you'd think the charts would be telling a completely different story. So let's dive in. We're going to break down exactly why the price seems to be stuck in neutral and explore what the future might actually hold for Pi.
So here's where we are today. We're looking at a true paradox. Pi is seeing some of its weakest price performance ever. At the exact same time, its community just keeps on growing. There's this huge disconnect between the number of people involved and what the market thinks Pi is actually worth.
And when you dig into the on-chain data, the story gets even clearer. It's not just a simple price dip. Look at these symptoms. Every single time the price even tries to recover, it gets hit with a wave of selling. And those little bounces you see, there's no real volume behind them, which is a massive red flag for market confidence. This isn't just a bad week. It points to a much deeper lack of confidence from the market.
Okay, so what's really causing this? Well, it's not just one thing. It's more like a combination of factors that have created what you could call a stagnation equation. Let's unpack the three key variables in this equation that are really holding Pi's price down.
All right, factor number one, good old market pressure. The whole crypto landscape has changed. The original excitement around mining on your phone just doesn't have the same punch it used to. On top of that, Pi is still missing from many of the big top-tier exchanges, and that creates a major bottleneck for new money trying to get in.
Second, and this one is a huge deal, we have to talk about the tokenomics. There is an enormous amount of the Pi supply that's still locked up. As those tokens are gradually released to all the early miners, it creates this constant dripping faucet of potential sellers. A lot of them are just waiting for a chance to cash out, which puts this relentless downward pressure on the price.
And that leads us right into our third and maybe the most fascinating factor of all, the psychology of the community itself. Think about it. Unlike most crypto projects where people buy in with their hard-earned cash, almost everyone holding Pi got it for free, just by mining on their phone. This completely changes how they act. This slide just lays it out perfectly. On the left, you've got the Pi user miner. Because they have no financial skin in the game, their patience is naturally much lower. Why wait? They're way more likely to sell at the very first sign of a price jump. Now, compare that to a traditional investor on the right. They've put their own money on the line, so they're thinking long-term. This psychological split is a massive reason why every rally gets smothered almost immediately. So, with all these challenges, you've got to ask, what's the game plan? How does Pi turn this ship around? Well, it seems pretty clear that the project's leadership understands that the era of just making promises is over. The entire focus has shifted to building something with real, tangible value. And this really reflects a huge shift in the entire crypto market. The days of a project's price going to the moon based on hype and a good story, well, those days are fading fast. The market has grown up. It now demands actual results. It wants to see real-world use, projects solving actual problems, and economies that can support themselves. And hey, we are starting to see the first real steps in this direction. Take an app like MobiX, for instance. It's designed to let people make real, everyday payments. This right here is the blueprint for how you build value. First, you build apps that actually work. Then, you get people using them day to day. And finally, that creates an ecosystem where demand for Pi comes from its usefulness, not just speculation. You know, it's also worth pointing out that Pi isn't alone in facing this kind of challenge. The journey from being a cool idea to a useful, functional product is a tough road, and a lot of major crypto projects have had to walk it. This quote really hits the nail on the head. The entire crypto market has matured. It doesn't matter if you're talking about a project that develops slowly and carefully or one that grows explosively. The one thing they all have in common is that eventually results are the only thing that matters. A good story gets you in the door, but it won't keep you in the room. So after putting all of this together, where does that leave Pi? We can pretty much map out 3 different directions its future could go. Let's quickly walk through them. In a bullish future, we'd see real-world adoption take off, with more apps and businesses actually using Pi. That would ease the selling pressure and lead to stable growth. The neutral scenario is basically where we are now. Some utility, but it's all stuck inside the Pi bubble. The price stays flat, and the community gets more and more impatient. And then there's the bearish path,
where a failure to get outside adoption leads to the price falling further as even more tokens flood the market. And really, it all boils down to this one simple, brutal truth. You can build the most useful applications in the world, but if nobody outside your existing community actually uses them, it doesn't matter. Utility is the car, but adoption is the gas. And that leaves us with the final defining question. Pi has one of the biggest user bases in the history of crypto. The ultimate test, the thing that will decide everything, is whether it can turn that giant community of users into a real, functioning economy.
And as always, just a quick reminder that this content is for informational and educational purposes only. It is not financial advice. Please always do your own research.